Right. And if you look at other things, though, I guess sort of to wrap this up here. Well, first I just want to ask one more question about the VP stuff.
Sure.
Who do you think would best balance the McCain ticket?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I think the assumption is that he is someone who was more conservative, to deal with this idea that he's not quite a regular Republican, not quite a little too maverick. Incidentally, no one's paying attention to the Republican primaries, but in both Pennsylvania and North Carolina, McCain got only 3 out of 4 every Republican primaries. There's still votes out there for Huckabee and Ron Paul, indicating that not everyone in the party is, too satisfied about this. There have been a number of people mentioned from McCain. I think actually Romney would be a good running mate for him. Now, the two men don't like each other much and had a very unpleasant campaign, but Romney, by the fact that he ran, is seen, I think, as, probably qualified for this. He brings a business and economic background, which McCain is very weak on. He'd be a very energetic campaigner. He's a good debater, and he certainly could, would be very good at beating up on the opposition. Beyond that, there's been talk of Rob Portman, who was a congressman from Ohio and then was the special trade rep and the budget director for a year each in the Bush administration, very well regarded among the younger members of Congress. The wild card, I think, is Joe Lieberman, very close to McCain personally, big supporter of the war, but opposed to Republican positions on most other issues. That could play havoc with the election if McCain took Lieberman. Of course, half the Republican Party might, go off somewhere else.
Right. See, I thought possibly, obviously McCain needs a strong economic candidate. I was thinking the dream ticket for me, I'd love to see Steve Forbes come and run with McCain.
Well, he ran before. He's certainly pretty conservative.
Right.
He certainly has economic credentials. I mean, a lot of people don't think much of his economics, but that depends on your point of view. I don't know what their personal relationship is. The person who's actually close to McCain on economic issues is a Texan, former Senator Phil Gramm.
Right.
But it'd be interesting. We usually get surprised by the vice presidential nomination, so no reason why that won't happen again.
Right. It would be interesting to see, because I would, James and I talked about this. We thought maybe, I mentioned Evan Bayh.
I think I'll tell you where the argument, one of the arguments you hear about the Democratic ticket is that in order to have party unity, if Hillary, won't be the vice presidential candidate, it ought to be someone out of the Hillary camp. To unite the party. Now, Evan Bayh's name is mentioned. He's been a governor, has been a senator. Not too interesting, but pretty bright. There's talk of Governor Rendell of Pennsylvania. Indiana's probably going to go Republican, but the Democrats sure need Pennsylvania. And Governor Strickland, also of Ohio, less well known, but been a congressman. Strickland's a former congressman. He's a governor, and he's from Southern Ohio, which is the more conservative part of the state, and he's a minister.
Right.
Then you hear Senator Webb of Virginia, who was a Republican and was Secretary of the Navy, is an author, an Annapolis graduate. A little bit of a wild card, a little bit of a loose cannon, some feel. As I said, I think but Bayh certainly would be in the mix.
Right. Would you say that Obama would have to pick a Clinton supporter if he didn't pick Hillary herself to unite the party?
Yeah, I think that makes some sense, because let's face it, close to half the party voted for Clinton.
Right.
And so if you just pick another Obama supporter, maybe that doesn't do you. I mean, I think vice presidential candidates are overrated in their importance. I mean, the main impact vice presidential candidates have if they do something stupid, if they're really bad in the debate, or if they turn out to have some problem in their background, all of which can be avoided. Beyond that, you see, there are only about 2 times you ever see the vice presidential candidate. One is the day he or she is named, and the second is when they have the debate. And so you got to think in terms of those 2 moments, what the reaction will be and how they'll handle it. And for the rest, their job is to go around to all the smaller TV markets and beat up on the other side.
Well, Mr. Leubsdorf, thank you for your time. The time has gone by. It's been a nice interview. And by the way, I recommend your listeners check out Mr. Leubsdorf's column every Thursday in the Dallas Morning News. Got a little nostalgia. I know you're from New York City, but I got a little nostalgia interviewing someone from the Dallas Morning News.
And at www.dallasnews.com.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time,
glad
sir.
to be with you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.